Hey guys, my name is Ange and this is my channel and welcome to week 3 of our Halloween extravaganza. This week we are going to be cooking together and I'm really excited. I have come up with a recipe just for this video. It is my own take on the Harry Potter cauldron cakes and it's a vegan spice cake with pumpkin frosting and a little tiny cute little cauldron lid. So get your oven mitts on and let's get to the baking. So before we get started, you just want to preheat your oven and we are preheating that today to about 160 degrees on fan force. And if you don't have fan force, obviously go a little hotter, so about 170 degrees. And to begin with, we're going to be taking some almond milk. We have a full cup of unsweetened almond milk and a tablespoon of white wine vinegar, and we're just going to pop that into the almond milk so that it makes it nice and curdled, and it does have a reaction with some of the other ingredients later. We're just going to give that a little bit of a mix just so that all of the vinegar and the almond milk are combined, and it does go kind of gross and curdly, but that's what you want. So next we're going to jump straight into the batter, and I'm going to go with a half a cup of butter, and that's 115 grams if you're not familiar. And we're going to quickly give that a beat with a pair of hand beaters. You just want to make sure it's nice and smooth. Now that that's beat together, we're going to quickly take the sugar. So we're doing a scant full cup of sugar, and we're just going to pop that into the butter, which by the way is not actual butter, it's nutmeg, which is what I use as a replacement for dairy butter. And we're just going to beat that together. Okay, so the next step is to take your flour, and we're using wholemeal flour, and I've got a cup and a half of that. And we're just going to pop that straight into the butter. And then we're going to take our baking and bi-carb soda. So we use a half a teaspoon of bi-carb soda, and baking powder we use a teaspoon and a half. And we're also going to throw in our spices now. So we use a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, a half a teaspoon of ginger, and half a teaspoon of nutmeg. And now you just want to take your beaters and quickly give those a mix together. Once those are mixed together so they're nice and crumbly, we're just going to quickly scrape off the little beaters to get all of the dry ingredients and the butter off there. And then we're going to add the almond milk and cider vinegar mixture. It looks real gross, but it tastes delicious once it's all mixed together. And now we're going to take a spatula and we're going to just mix them all together. Fold them into each other. You don't want to over mix these. You just want to make sure it's all combined though. All right, and now it's all combined. It'll look kind of like fluffy, but not fluffy and gooey at the same time. It does actually look a lot like porridge. Porridge! And now we're going to quickly get our trays ready so that we can pop the mixture into the patty papers and chuck them into the oven. So we've got some black patty papers here, and ideally you want to have black ones because otherwise they're not really going to look like cauldrons, and it is more like cauldron inspired. So the little black papers for the cauldrons with the frosting being like the mixture inside bubbling out. It's kind of cute. So you just want to line your tray with the papers and then start dipping up the mixture. So you just want to fill the patty papers until they're about 3/4 full. So a decent scoop in each one, and then divide the rest of the mixture in the bowl afterwards. And now we're just going to be popping those into the oven for about 20 minutes, and then we'll check them after 20 minutes to make sure they're cooked all the way through by poking them with a little skewer. Okay, so I've got a skewer here. I'm just going to quickly prod them to make sure that it comes out clean. And yep, that's come out clean. So they're perfect and they're ready. And I'm going to quickly remove them from the pan just because sometimes the paper can come away from it and peel off as they cool down. Just be really careful because these are very hot, but you just want to pop them straight onto a cooling rack. There we go. Now they're ready to just cool down so that we can ice them once they are completely cool. All right, so while the cupcakes are baking, we're going to get started on our frosting. And first up, we're going to be using 1/4 cup of butter. And into that, we're going to put 1/4 cup of pumpkin puree. So the pumpkin puree that I use is Libby's 100% pure pumpkin, and this is just for ease really, because you can make your own pumpkin puree, but this one is just so perfect and I've used it several times and it's really easy to get. They are from the USA, but you can get them from, like, you know, American candy stores and stuff like that. So yeah, just pop that in there with the butter, and then we're just going to quickly beat those two together. And now that those two are well combined, we're going to add the icing sugar or powdered sugar, whichever you want to call it. I call it icing sugar. And then we're just going to add the spices as well. So I use the same spices in the cupcake as I use in the frosting, and we just use 1/4 teaspoon of the ginger, cinnamon, and nutmeg. And now we're just going to quickly beat those together. And you always want to make sure you scrape down the sides of the bowls because sometimes the powdered sugar just ends up sticking to the sides. So scrape all of that back down into the center. And for a final little addition, we're going to put just a dash of the almond milk in there. And then we're just going to quickly combine those as well. And if you're not happy with the consistency of the mixture, if it's too dry, you can always add a little tiny bit more almond milk, or in this case, I've added a little bit too much almond milk. So I'm just going to quickly pop a little tiny bit more icing sugar in there just to slightly thicken it up, not too much. And just beat it together until you're happy with the consistency. So our next step for decorating these cupcakes is to start rolling out the fondant to make the little lids. So you just want to grab just enough of black pre-made fondant. I'm not going to make it. I can't make fondant, so you just want to purchase some fondant, and this one I just got at Coles. A lot of baking stores sell pre-made fondant, so yeah, it should be really easy to get a hold of. I'm just gonna roll that into a ball. I've set out some baking paper, so some non-stick paper so it doesn't stick to the bench and makes it easier to roll. I'm just using a rolling pin to gently roll that out so it's a nice smooth surface. You don't want it to be too thin, but not too thick either, so sort of just use your judgment there as to like how easy you think that a lid is going to be to peel off and stick onto a cupcake. And yeah, once that's rolled out, we're going to take a little tiny cookie cutter. I had a little round cookie cutter and it's this size here. So, whoa! So you just want to quickly punch out a couple of, as many as you need, of the cauldron lids out of your fondant. And then we have the little fondant. So now we're just going to start icing and decorating our cupcakes. So I'm just going to quickly fill our little piping bag with the frosting that we prepared earlier. Sometimes it's easier if you put the piping bag over a cup so that it doesn't make a mess as you're putting the icing into it. There we go. Chuck all that good frosting in there. It's so, so good. I really love pumpkin desserts. Not everybody's into them, but I think this one is a really nice complement to the cupcake itself. And it's not too strongly pumpkin-y. It's just a light pumpkin flavor. And it also adds a really nice color to the frosting. So I like to put a big dollop in the center and then work the wormy fat icing around in a circle, like that. And with this one, you just want to use one of the round sort of circular head ones because you don't want it to look too floral. It's just supposed to look like a cauldron bubbling over. And then we're going to use a little bit of shimmer dust. So this one is just a gold shimmer dust, and it's just going to add a little bit of magic to the cupcakes. So just gonna add a little bit of magic and gold shimmer dust to the frosting. It does make a little bit of mess, so you can of course get a little plate, but look, it looks so pretty now. And then we grab our little cauldron lid, pop that on the top gently, and sort of gently press that in. You don't want to squish the icing all the way down. And I grabbed these really cute little pumpkin toothpicks. I'm sure you could get these at any sort of bargain or variety store. And then we just gently press that into the cupcake and all the way down. How cute does that look? I think it looks adorable. Anyway, I'm totally excited and so happy with how this turned out. All right, so here is our completed cupcake. A really delicious spice cupcake with a hint of pumpkin and all of the delicious nutmeg, cinnamon, and ginger spices. I think this one is an excellent treat for any Halloween themed party, and I definitely think you should give it a go. And if you do, make sure you leave a comment down below and let me know how you go. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, and for more videos in the future, make sure you hit subscribe. Stay excellent, and I'll see you next time. Bye!